What's up, you guys? Void here, coming back at you with another Commander deck tech video. This one was unfortunately another close one with my patrons. They voted on a few different options from Dominaria, and it came down to a four-way tie, and I chose one that I honestly think has been underrepresented as far as deck techs go on YouTube. So I want to go with Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. This guy is really sweet. He's 3 mana in red for a 3/2 legendary creature human shaman. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to him, you create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste, and you exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So obviously the main strategy here is going to be throw a bunch of those onto him and then just swing for a ton of damage. The cool thing is that you don't even need to really worry about pumping him up, making him bigger or more viable in combat, because he's not going to be the one swinging it for the most part. You're going to let your tokens that are going to exile themselves at the end step anyway, you're just going to let them do that because they're expendable. There's really no reason not to swing with them every single turn that you get to. Now, for the fact that there isn't an abundance of red auras, we're going to depend heavily on our artifact equipments. These are going to be a lot easier to get out there anyway. Setup is decent, and then we get to just equip them to Valduk whenever we feel like it, and then get some of those tokens out there. One of my personal favorite equipments for any good deck that cares about equipments is Hero's Blade, especially in Commander. A legendary creature is the foundation. Having it enter the battlefield and immediately attaching it, avoiding that 4 equip cost, is fantastic, and you also get +3/+2 to Valduk. But the most important part here is that the turn you get him out there with Hero's Blade as the good setup, you get a token to swing with. That is just brilliant. And this is in addition to Lightning Greaves also being really good in the deck. A 0 equip cost, and all you really care about is the fact that it's equipped, and it also gives haste and shroud. Not too bad. Now, another good equipment that is very similar to Hero's Blade is Storm Rider Rig. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Rig to it. So it works in a very similar way that you have more equipments attached to Valduk quicker, and that's all you really care about. We could talk about a whole bunch of the other good efficient equipments, but it gets kind of redundant. I'm going to try to condense this video. So we're going to move on to some really sweet artifacts that we can manipulate the trigger with. Strionic Resonator works out really well. We can copy the trigger of Valduk, getting more tokens for each equipment and aura. That way, if we have 4 equipments, we can get 4 more tokens for combat. I think that is brilliant, but possibly the funniest one here is Sundial of the Infinite. You pay 1 mana and just end the turn. This is obviously after you swing with your tokens. They're going to exile at the beginning of the next end step. Technically ending the turn already gets past the beginning of the end step, so it misses that trigger. You get to keep the tokens. I think that is really cool. Another cool artifact to take advantage of is obviously Ashnod's Altar, and I might as well mention Skull Clamp. Both of these are going to take advantage of all the tokens that are going to exile anyway. You might as well get some value for them, so why not get some mana or draw some cards? Before I forget, there's actually a really sweet equipment that I forgot to mention. Dragon Throne of Tarkir. Equipped creature has Defender, which isn't too bad with Valduk. We want to swing with our tokens anyway. An activated ability of 2, tap them. All of your other creatures are going to get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Valduk's power. So that in itself can be a finisher. Just another insane interaction. And we can't forget about the auras. There are some decent ones, nothing too overwhelming, but ones that are worthy of this deck. Dragon Mantle is going to draw you a card, but more importantly, you have a decent fire breathing, and it's a 1 mana aura. Hammerhand isn't too bad either, another 1 mana aura. Really important that you just get the numbers in your tokens. We also play a Mob Mentality, which is another 1-drop aura. If you really want some power, we also have Betrothed of Fire, a 2 mana aura. We can sacrifice an untapped creature, have enchanted creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn, or we could sacrifice the enchanted creature. So this is really the one that you want to do. All creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. So if you have a ton of enchantments out there, or those artifacts, they're all equipped, or you have the auras on Valduk, and you get a ton of those tokens, getting them +2/+0 until end of turn is going to be a decent finisher. But that's about it. The aura presence isn't really that great, so you might as well get the value out of those cheap little auras in red that we have to use. If we're looking at just dealing a ton of damage, we have Goblin Bombardment to get rid of those excess tokens that are going to exile anyway. We also have Impact Tremors and Perforos that are going to deal some damage when all of your tokens enter the battlefield. That's really sweet. And you also have the interaction with Outpost Siege. If you want to choose dragons, all of your tokens, exiling is technically leaving the battlefield, so they're all going to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. And of course, if you want to be really brutal, we have aggravated assault, because getting an extra combat step doesn't technically end your turn, so you're going to keep all the tokens you got the first combat, get a whole bunch more of them, and then swing with all of those, along with the ones that you got the previous combat. So you could definitely end a game with this. The rest of the deck, though, is pretty simple. Good filler creatures, good things that are going to synergize with either artifacts or equipments, or even auras to a degree. Never really hurts to have something like a Brass Squire, pretty much getting around whatever equip cost you want to get around, and a Goblin Welder doesn't hurt either when you're an artifact dependent deck. So anyway guys, that's going to do it for this deck tech video. Really wanted to shorten my deck techs. If you want to see the entire deck list, the link to that will be in the description box below to my tapped out. I apologize if this change is not what some people wanted, but to me it helps me save some time, and I know a lot of people are tired of me saying the same things over and over again about cards like Soul Ring, Mind Stone, cards I mention all the time. So I might as well make these videos much shorter while also giving you guys the gist of what the deck does. I think that's very important, and it's not going to really force you into playing a budget deck or a more expensive deck. You could just take the cards I showed you and throw into a deck whatever else you want to put into it, and I think it's going to work out really well, because that's kind of the foundation that I just set here for this deck, and I think it works out really well with Valduk. Valduk is incredibly aggressive. Really cool guy. But as always, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.